Hello, I am Professor Saldivar, and this is a discussion of Louis Pojman's essay, A Defense of the Death Penalty. In his essay, Pojman argues that there are two important elements to establishing the morality of the death penalty: retribution and deterrence. And he argues that these two together provide a strong argument in favor of the death penalty. He defines retribution using three elements. First, the guilty deserve to be punished. Second, only the guilty deserve to be punished. And third, the guilty deserve to be punished in proportion to the severity of their crime. Pojman is careful to point out that retribution is not vengeance. It is, rather, the rational theory that criminals deserve to be punished in proportion to the severity of their crimes. Furthermore, retribution is said to be in line with our gut instincts that some crimes just need to be severely punished, and that all crimes deserve some sort of punishment. Deterrence is defined or is thought of in the following way. Executing murderers deters would-be murderers from killing innocent people. The idea here, of course, is that by putting such a strong penalty on the crime of murder, we encourage any future murderers or anyone thinking about committing murder to seriously reconsider their behavior or else suffer the consequences. In order to motivate the idea that deterrence is very effective, he asks us to consider a scenario in which he asks us to consider a hypothetical world in which every murder is instantly and unfailingly met with a kind of divine retribution, which is to say, every time someone commits a murder in this hypothetical world, they are struck by a bolt of lightning and killed instantaneously. As soon as their victim dies, a bolt of lightning comes through and kills them immediately and without fail. Now, Pojman suggests that in such a world, murder would cease to exist, or almost cease to exist entirely, and that this is thought to be proof that retribution, if it's administered quickly enough and often enough, is a really strong deterrent to any and all murders. But even in such a hypothetical world, would this lightning bolt justice eliminate murder? I suspect that it would not. Some murders are conducted by irrational agents, people who are clinically insane, or who are temporarily overcome with irrational emotions. And of course, irrational agents do not stop to consider the consequences of their actions. Consideration of consequences is, of course, by definition, something only a rational person would be able to do well, or perhaps do at all. And furthermore, this sort of lightning bolt justice might not even stop rational agents. But we'll discuss that in greater detail in the introduction to the Bedeau essay. Assuming that the lightning bolt justice worked in much the same way as Pojman suggests it would, we might think about life in prison. So imagine a hypothetical world in which murderers were not struck by lightning bolts immediately upon completing of the murder, but were instead instantly teleported to a prison from which they could not escape. Now it seems that such retribution by imprisonment instead of by thunderbolt or by lightning bolt would also be incredibly effective at deterring and reducing the number of murders. After all, if you're a rational agent who doesn't want to die, you also are probably a rational agent who does not want to spend the rest of your life in jail. And so one question for a theorist such as Pojman that we might want to pose is, why isn't life in prison an effective deterrent? Pojman does consider the possibility of life in prison, and he takes the angle that life in prison also causes irreversible harm. He notes most of us would prefer a short life of higher quality than a longer life of low quality. And I think Pojman here is right. Life in prison does cause irreversible harm. Even to someone who is eventually exonerated and released, they do lose a large chunk of their life, of their free life. And most of us would prefer a short life of high quality over a long life of low quality. But observing that life in prison is harmful to innocent people isn't the whole story. One has to ask, is it a comparable harm to being unjustly executed? In other words, yes, both execution and life in prison are harmful, and they are unjust in the case of innocent people who are being executed or imprisoned for life. But which one is worse? It seems that if you ask a person, do you want a short life of high quality or a long life of low quality, they will opt for a short life of high quality. But if you ask them, would you prefer a long life of low quality, which is good at the end when we exonerate and release you, versus no life at all, then I suspect many more people would be willing to take the long life where they're eventually exonerated over the death penalty. And this is a concern for a theorist such as Pojman that wants to support the death penalty. Thus, we've come to the end of our brief introduction to Louis Pojman's essay, A Defense of the Death Penalty. As always, this was a discussion of just some of the important points in the essay, and you are strongly encouraged to read the whole essay carefully before attempting to complete your work. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.